We're gonna get this party started in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. We are live. And I'm coming at you with 5, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get this thing started in a minute. Make sure y'all smash up the likes. Hold up a second. We're getting this thing started, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. This night, nothing. This Random Topic Thursday is on the hottest live stream in the cosmos of all of the whole streams. We got YouTube. We got X. I ain't playing with your brother. We can do. And of course, we don't want to be shadow banned. I gotta watch my words from my hand. And we on Rumble. I want to say hello all the way from X. Oh, I'd say, oh, go. It's time to get this channel started. And we got this place right here. It's Gavin Richard, not retarded. Yeah. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little rap that I can think was just coming off the top of my head. What's going on? What's going on, family? How we doing tonight? We're getting this thing started, ladies and gentlemen. It is Random Topic Thursdays. I didn't eat. I was debating whether I was coming on or not. We are still trying to thaw out here in a Big Easy. Roads are still closed. Some things have reopened. They've, although some things like right now, it's still cold. So it's not as cold as it was yesterday or the day before, which was Tuesday when it started snowing. But what's happened now is that we got black ice on the road, so things are shut down. Like the I-10 for the most part is shut off. The bridges are closed on the causeway. All the emergency personnel they were allowed on the causeway today. And tomorrow I think they're going to try and see if they can reopen it. But if it's cold again, if the ice is not going anywhere right now. So probably not till over the weekend. But we're going to get this thing rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, there's still snow on the ground in front of my house. So we got a lot. Make sure we smash up the likes. If we got people in the chat, I want y'all to please give a thumbs up. We're also live. Oh, that's interesting. I'm on Rumble. I'm on I'm on X. I'm on YouTube. We actually also, for the first time in a long time, we're live on Facebook because Zuckerberg has gotten it right where they're not censoring people on Facebook. They're embracing free speech. So if you're on Facebook, say what's up too, because we're going live with the channel tonight. So I'm doing some things talking about, of course, a few big issues, a couple of them that have come up, especially with Donald Trump and these executive orders. I want to get to that a little bit later. And also I'm going to be talking about what our main topic is tonight. We were discussing about NFL Hall of Famer Warren Sapp, former defensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Oakland Raiders, was actually arrested. This happened last year, and he announced he's filing a major lawsuit against a rinky-dink sheriff's office. That's right, you heard me. I said it. I called it that way because when you watch the video, and I'm going to be breaking down everything that's going on with those two issues today. why they matter, and basically trying to clear the mud up about what those mean, because there's a lot of fear mongering going on. I want everybody to know, especially their rights. So today you can say it's the Know Your Rights Thursday. So while we do that, let me pause some music for a minute. I love the beat, but I gotta put some more music in. So while we do that, let's go ahead. So we're gonna talk about something today. Now, speaking of Trump, a lot of people may or may not know this, but earlier today, about 6 hours ago, and I just saw this breaking news, Donald Trump signed an executive order declassifying all files related to Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, that's who Robert F. Kennedy was, John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy, and Dr. King's assassinations. So I'm going to go ahead and show some video on that. He signed these executive orders today. In just his first day alone, Trump signed 26 executive orders, reversing DEI hires. He basically ordered a freeze in federal employment on all DEI employees. He also signed executive orders recognizing that there are only two genders, male and female. So he's rolled back a lot of the transgender stuff, the trans stuff. Also, these executive orders with regards to the birthright citizenship. Now, I'm going to explain to everyone, because people have questions about that, what's going on with that, because there's a lot of fear mongering going on. Al Sharpton is getting involved, basically calling for a boycott of all companies that are doing these rollbacks on these DEI stuff. And why are people still listening to Al Sharpton is beyond me, but be that as it may, we're going to explain some of that, but I want to show this video. So today, Trump was in a White House and he signed these 3 executive orders, reversing and declassifying all of the records as to John F. Kennedy's assassination, RFK, and MLK. So this is the video here. So we're going to go there live. Hold on.
Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay? Give that to RFK.
Yes, sir.
Alex
He
Jones.
just signed the executive order ordering all of the remaining JFK files be released. Previously, they slow-rolled it. Trump is ordering them released today. If they aren't, he'll send in the federal marshals. Trump orders the release of the final JFK assassination documents. And just a week and a half ago, we aired the exclusive audio from 1971 of the former head of the DNC and LBJ's business manager and Billy Saul Estes talking about LBJ ordering the murder of JFK. Talk about smoking gun.
Well, let me just say this. LBJ, I've done videos everybody has seen on the Kennedy assassination. While I don't doubt LBJ was involved in Kennedy's assassination per se, there were people higher up who actually ordered that, because even I spoke with Dick Gregory about this, and I was curious about LBJ's involvement, as well as George. It's been rumored that George H.W. Bush, the first Bush, was involved, and other presidents. Nixon was there in Dallas, which is factual. There were about 4 United States presidents outside of John F. Kennedy that were present in Dallas that day. Most people don't know that. LBJ, Richard Nixon, George H.W. Bush, because he was there. He was in Dallas by all reports, and his son, according to the information I've seen, George W. Bush was there. So 4 former presidents, 5 presidents total in Dallas, Texas. 1 left dead. Now, I'll let Jones finish. Fair use, by the way. I don't want anybody going after me for sharing Alex Jones's tweet, but Yeah, I just wanted to point that
interview
out.
got over 100 million viewers and listeners on Real Alex Jones. So, in case you missed it, we are going to repost it on X in the next 20, 30 minutes with my little introduction here so that you can share it to add to all of this history coming out. Now, already declassified 5 years ago by Trump. He did it late in his administration. He knows to get it all done up front, hit him with a blitzkrieg. They released what we'd already gotten from similar documents that Lee Harvey Oswald was in the CIA, was working with the FBI, was in secret operation Mongoose in Cuba, connected to the Cuba operation, and that he was set up. So all of this is coming out in polls, 95% on average. You know the government killed Kennedy, and they killed RFK, and they killed MLK, and they killed Malcolm X, and all the rest of it, and then framed other groups. But this is huge. And as soon as we get the documents, we'll post them on X. I know you will as well. Don't just wait around for me to do it. I always tell whistleblowers in the contacts with big stuff, I go, listen, send it to James O'Keefe, send it to everybody. Don't just give it to me. And they go, really, you don't want the exclusive? And I said, no, we're going to vet it and check it, and I'll make them send me their ID and check the documents. We do all that. And I go, we're understaffed. We're going to get to it. But I don't care about being exclusive. And this is not even the case here anyways, but I'm just saying it's about get it out, get it out, get it done, get her done, get her done. Wow. Very, very exciting.
Good to see you. How's life treating you today? Well, Saul, it's been a pretty touch and go situation. Linda and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal with Lydia or Mike Wallace to assassinate the president. It's been hectic and everyone, but we've lived through it this far. I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike. But we've had our differences, and I'm true blue to Lyndon as I've always been to try to carry out every order that he'd ever given me. But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget. And the times that we've had in Texas, and the embarrassment that Lyndon had gotten from Kennedy, I guess there wasn't anything else to do but what he did. Well, you know, Lyndon could have really hit me if he would. Well, Lyndon's the kind of person that doesn't want to help anyone. He's all for Lyndon, and that's the way it's pretty much always been. Well, they had me backed up on that Henry Marshall killing, and they just kind of blackmailed me to keep my mouth shut. If I hadn't had a bunch of tapes that I played after he got killed, because, 17 got killed in this situation very mysteriously. And I've done a lot of time, and I've lost a lot of money, and hurt my family a whole lot. And it's really got me just disgusted with Lyndon in one way. In one way, I feel real sorry for him.
Folks, I'm not funded by any big corporations or anybody. I am funded by viewers and listeners because over the years they've targeted.
All right, I'm going to stop there. So, what are in these orders? And a lot of people need to really read the executive orders because we're talking about the birthright citizenship and the order itself. Now, according to the declassification, so this is the official website for the executive orders here. Hold on. So this is the whitehouse.gov. So what's going on, Spirit of Justice? You got the Spirit Airline, you got the Spirit Airlines logo, man. That's not. I mean, your you got the Spirit Airline logo as your avatar. That means your website is about to crash. Your shit is ratchet. Your stuff is ratchet. It's about to crash. Nothing working on the web. You try and restart it. Nothing working. You. But anyway, look. So this is the executive order. He says policy and purpose. More than 50 years after these assassinations, the federal government has not released to the public all of its records relating to those events. Their families and the American people deserve transparency and truth. It is in the national interest to finally release all records related to these assassinations without delay. So the President John F. Kennedy Records Collection Act of 1992 required all records related to the assassination of President Kennedy to be publicly disclosed in full by October 26, 2017, unless the president certified that continued postponement is made necessary by an that by an identifiable harm to the military defense, intelligence operations, law enforcement, or the conduct of foreign relations. And the identifiable harm is of such gravity that it outweighs the public interest in disclosure. President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992, Section 5G2D, Public Law 102.526, 106 Statute 3443, 3448 through 49, codified as 44 U.S. Code 2107. So he says here, I previously accepted proposed redactions from the executive departments and agencies in 2017 and 2018, but ordered the continued re-evaluation of those remaining redactions. In the presidential memorandum of April 26, 2018, I also ordered agencies to re-review each of these redactions over the next 3 years and disclose information that no longer warrants continued withholding under the standard set forth of 5G2D of the President John F. Kennedy Records Collection Act of 92. President Biden issued subsequent certifications with respect to these records in 2021, 2022, and 2023, which gave agencies additional time to review the records and withhold information from public disclosure. So he's citing see temporary certification regarding this. So he's citing these certifications. I have now determined that the continued redaction and withholding of this information from records pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy is not consistent with the public interest, and that the release of the records is long overdue. And although no act of Congress directs the release of information pertaining to the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have determined that the release of all records in the federal government's possession pertaining to each of these assassinations is also in the public interest. Now, he goes further that within 15 days of this order, the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General, in a coordination with the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs and the Counsel to the President, present a plan to the President for the full and complete release of records relating to the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And within 45 days of the date of this order, the Director of National Intelligence and the AG, in a coordination with assistants to the President for National Security Affairs and Counsel to the President, review records related to the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Senator Robert F. Kennedy, be released, and present a plan to the President for full and complete release of it. So they're ordering within 15 days a plan in which John F. Kennedy, I get it, Spirit. John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy's records be released within 15 days, and a plan be made to release the records of Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King. Now, I will notice, I think something needs to be added. I believe Malcolm X's assassination, as well as the assassination of Fred Hampton, should also be included with that. There are a lot of other celebrities too. Let's not forget a lot of Black people who have died at the hands of corrupt police officers and FBI agents and government officials, so forth, who obviously we don't know any more details about their deaths. Things have been hidden. But I think this is a good thing? Yes, I do. I agree with Trump on this. I think that, especially when you look at the assassinations of Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy and President John F. Kennedy and Malcolm X. Malcolm wasn't named, but just those three. That was a time when the country changed, because when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, just 2 months prior to his assassination, Dr. King was assassinated. That ended the 60s. Well, so when Bobby Kennedy was like this last hope. That's why, from what, I wasn't born in the 60s, but from what many people have told me who lived back then, like my father and mother, 1968, the United States was in Vietnam. Bobby Kennedy, like his brother, did not want the United States in the Vietnam War. He was a proponent of civil rights here in this country, and he was one of the few people, from what everybody says, that actually wanted to do things, especially about poverty in the United States. He actually went to Chicago and broke down and cried when he saw the living conditions of poor people in Chicago and how they live no more than a bedroom, just like the one I'm in. You're talking about 4 or 5 people living in one room like this. And he was broken up by that. Uh, and he talked to people. Now, I've always known, and I've done videos about their assassinations. There was some type of conspiracy. But what has allowed conspiracy theories to reign supreme is the fact that the government, our government, who is supposed to be for us and by us, has not been transparent. Same thing with Dr. King's assassination. Of course, the story, we just celebrated Dr. King's birthday this week prior, and his Martin Luther King Day was this past Monday. But we have still not reconciled what truly happened with his assassination, because by all means, from the information that I've gathered, I've done a story on Dr. King's assassination before with Judge Joe Brown. There's no telling that that was a conspiracy to kill Dr. King, and he's made it abundantly clear that James Earl Ray was not the shooter. Judge actually had his life threatened by reopening that case, because he said the bullets that was pulled out of King did not match the gun that James Earl Ray supposedly had fired, which enough. And he said, had James Earl Ray lived, it would have been his determination. He was not the gunman. He said it would have been close, but he probably would have granted him, I believe, a new trial and probably ordered him released from prison. So James Earl Ray, of course, died before that ruling could have been made, and they really tried to go after Judge Joe Brown. Yeah, the Sexy Red thing happened too. Yeah, Sexy Red had an AI image of her stank monkey ass with her and Dr. King. And at first, looking at it, and I didn't think nothing of it, but I could see why. And Bernice King, she snapped because she didn't like the image, and I can understand why. But then she said she was not trying to justify anybody's essentially not justifying everybody's condemnation of Sexy Red. Sexy Red is basically a walking billboard of STDs. That's how I look at her. The stuff that she says and promotes is just nasty. It's just nasty, and I'm not a prude by no means. But if I have to listen to her music, I gotta wear a condom. That's how I feel with her stuff. Yeah, I saw that too, but I didn't want to get into that. But yeah, I saw that too. So yeah, and JFK's assassination, yeah, I've done videos on that. So I think this is a good thing that Trump has done now in his, and RFK, of course, he believed that the CIA had a role in assassinating both his father and his uncle, which, yeah, I've always known and believed that to be the case. So far, Trump has signed, I'm on Axios now. So speaking of executive orders, we're going to go into the main executive order, because most of his executive orders, a lot of stuff he's done, he's doing sweeping limitations on immigration and asylum. Now, of course, there's going to be stuff, especially with this birthright citizenship, ending that executive order, of course, is going to go be challenged before the Supreme Court. It's already lined up that way. Hold on. Yeah, in 4 hours. So 4 hours ago, he signed a slew of executive orders. Now, for those that don't know what of course, an executive order is basically like a papal bull that's issued from the Pope, except the president of the United States is in charge of only the executive branch of the government. So he cannot and doesn't necessarily make laws, but he can enforce and implement policies in particular into the federal government. So what a lot of people get confused when a president can't create a law, but an executive order, it only applies to the federal government only. It does not, and the executive from the executive branch. There are still checks and balances that have to be implemented because the the legislature are the ones, i.e., Congress, that makes law, whereas the Supreme Court or the federal courts are the ones that interpret the law. You know, the Supreme Court, when there's a nominee for the Supreme Court, the Congress has the authority, the Senate or any cabinet approval, to approve the president's choices for Supreme Court or for his cabinet. That's a part of checks and balances. And likewise, the president has the power to veto laws that are passed by Congress or not sign them because he has to sign it into law. And the Supreme Court can also interpret the actions of the president or the Congress and laws that have been passed. Now, he signed over 20 executive orders on Inauguration Day. Of course, he also pardoned all the January 6 rioters, which I believe one of the rioters I read on Yahoo News declined his pardon. I knew he was going to do that, though. So as of January 22nd, he had 28 executive orders. Biden had 9 orders in just one day. And he's basically just been rescinding everything the Biden administration has. I mean, everything from the environment, pulling us out of the World Health Organization. Also, the drilling, oil drilling that's going to commence, that's coming back. Yeah. So, what birthright citizenship is now, a lot of people are scared, thinking that Trump is going after the 14th, now talking about ending birthright citizenship. So this is his executive order. Now, he specifically cites here in this executive order the 14th Amendment, Section 1, the purpose, which says, as all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state in which they reside, state wherein they reside. And that provision, him reading what the executive order, he says, repudiated the Supreme Court of the United States' shameful decision in Dred Scott versus Sanford, which misinterpreted the Constitution as permanently excluding people of African descent, meaning black people, from eligibility for citizenship based solely on their race. But the 14th Amendment has never been interpreted to extend citizenship universally to everyone born within the United States. The 14th Amendment has always excluded from birthright citizenship persons who were born in the United States but not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Consistent with this understanding, the Congress has further specified that through legislation that a person born in the United States has and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a national and citizen of the United States at birth, citing Title 8 USC 1401, generally mirroring the 14th Amendment. Among the categories of individuals born in the United States and not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the privilege of the United States citizenship does not automatically extend to persons born in the United States when that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the father was not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of the said person's birth, or when that person's mother's presence in the United States at the time of said person's birth was lawful but temporary, such as but not limited to visiting the United States under the auspices of the visa waiver program or visiting student, work, or tourist visa, and the father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. It is the policy of the United States that no department or agency of the U.S. government shall issue documents recognizing citizenship or accept documents issued by state, local, or other governments or authorities purporting to recognize U.S. citizenship to persons when that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the person's father was not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. So y'all can zoom in and see. Subsection A of this section, that shall apply only to persons who are born within the U.S. after 30 days from the date of this order. So nothing in this order shall be construed to affect the entitlement of other individuals, including children or of lawful permanent residents, to obtain documentation of their United States citizenship. So, yeah, Trump has been going around. Of course, they're shut down all of these programs that the Biden administration had that was allowing and extending illegal immigrants access to certain things to streamroll citizenship. Trump is shutting all that down. In fact, it shut down, I think the day before, there was a couple they saw that was doing an app, trying to do an app, and it shut down before they could finish it. It's happening everywhere. So people, so this executive order, of course, is being challenged in federal. And this order is supposed to be implemented within 30 days of the date of this order regarding this order's implementation with respect to the operations and activities. So they have to provide guidance. So basically, he's directing the Office of Homeland Security, Attorney General, and Commissioner of Social Security to take measures about these regulations. So they're not offering someone, say for instance, who enters the country illegally, not getting a visa properly, like you normally would do. But people that just illegally enter in and have a baby born there is what Trump is trying to rescind. And so many people, including, Swollen Martin, national media, and others, they're trying to interpret this as if this is a repeal of the 14th Amendment, and it is not. Now, of course, because the Constitution states there is any person born here. Yes, that was, as you know, from when the Constitution, when the 14th Amendment was written, its original purpose was to give Black people citizenship because Blacks were not considered human, and we had to fight a war, a la the Civil War, to prove our humanity. That's why it was created in its purpose. Now, what's happened today, especially, have people taking advantage of the 14th Amendment to use it to just come over to this country and have a baby, and then that baby be a U.S. citizen. That's what's happened. And so a federal judge temporarily blocked Trump's executive order redefining birthright citizenship. So they use fear-mongering tactics with this stuff. And my brother. They're also doing it with the DEI hire, thinking Trump is rolling back Trump is rolling back the Equal Opportunity Employment Opportunity Act of 1965. There was no such thing. Lyndon Johnson in the 1960s, he signed Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 65. He did have executive orders in the 60s, like Executive Order 11246, that ended this discrimination. In employment, equal employment opportunity. And they're pulling back on this DEI stuff. Now, if DEI, of course, stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, when you listen to DEI, it sounds good. But as we do a little more research into what these executive orders, because that executive order, there was another executive order issued by President Obama known as 13672 and amended to Executive Order 11246 and 11478 that allowed sexual orientation and gender identity. And that's the thing too. Many of these programs that they say with DEI and so forth, and this created affirmative action that has benefited other groups other than Black people. Now, when Lyndon Johnson created it, it was designed, when he created affirmative action, it was designed to protect the Black person, to remedy past discrimination against Blacks, against Negroes, as he thought. That's why it was created. But nowadays, you have other minorities that, like LGBTQ, like illegal immigrants, like white women, really predominantly white women, who have benefited from it. So, is this something that is truly going to hurt us? We're already in this. Brother Marcel for Congress, shout out to him. He wrote this and said, quote, this headline is he's talking about the revocation of the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1965. The headline is completely misleading. Trump repealed the quota for federal contracts to go to minorities. None of these affirmative action or DEI programs were helping Black Americans, including in the first place. The people they were meant to help, whose lineage after centuries of violent government-sanctioned discrimination. They have primarily benefited white women and immigrants. And he says, good riddance. So someone says, except in contracts exempted in accordance with Section 204 of this order, all government contracting agencies shall include in every government contract hereafter entered into the following provisions. During the performance of the contract will read as follows. The contract will not discriminate against any employee or applicant for employment because of their race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. The contractor will take affirmative action to ensure that the applicants are employed and that employees are treated during employment without regard to their race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Such actions shall include but not limited to the following: employment, upgrading, promotion, transfer, recruitment, advertising, layoff. Now, what he did away with, and what Brother Marcel is stating, is he did away with part that called for affirmative action be taken to see that contracts and the like are given to minorities. Basically a quote. Now, would I prefer a quota of black people getting a bunch of stuff? Absolutely. But it hasn't happened even with the Democrats in office. It's not happening now. Is this truly something that is, they're trying to make out that's going to bite us? Overall, white women, and I talked about this before, benefit disproportionately from corporate DEI efforts. That was an article from Forbes in May of 2023. You can go read it. That's the article right here I'm reading from. I'm reading just a tidbit of it. So it's not, now of course, Trump can't, now of course with the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, that of course prohibited discrimination in public accommodation. There are still now executive orders come from the president. There's still a law called like the Equal Employment Opportunity. Those are still laws that are enacted across the country that has not been revoked. The president has no power in ending that law, choosing not to follow it. He can't do that. And if he tried to, of course, just like with the birthright, and it's going to come to the up to the court, but with the birthright citizenship, because that is amended by the Constitution. Now, I learned this in law school too. They always say conservatives try to go and interpret the law as the law was written at that time, and even we're talking about in the 1800s, whereas liberals tried to use that law as more broad to apply to everything. And I learned that in law school. That doesn't make sense. That's kind of like what they do. Like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we know that in the 70s when they had Title IX, they expanded that. The women's rights did that. Then, of course, in the 2000s, you see what President Obama did. He expanded it for the rainbow community. It makes sense. That's what they typically do. Yeah, they're mostly Democrats. So if you read the executive order here, he says in this first section, long-standing federal civil rights laws protect individuals from discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. He says these civil rights protection serves as a bedrock supporting equality of opportunity for all Americans. And as president, I have a solemn duty to ensure that these laws are enforced for the benefit of all Americans. So he's getting rid of essentially affirmative action and trying to say that DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, or DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, violate the civil rights. So he says, so what he's eliminating are the quotas. He terminated all of that with these now in the executive branch. Now, he cannot and will not, and is not able to terminate laws like the 1964 Civil Rights Act or Equal Opportunity Act, EEO. You can't get rid of that. So, and even with the birthright citizenship thing, that I knew was going to come. That certainly is going to go before the Supreme Court. I do have an understanding of that executive order, what he is trying to say, and he's got all conservatives on the Supreme Court, but sometimes they haven't ruled. Believe it or not, even with him, they haven't necessarily ruled in his favor. So you're gonna find out what happens later on. But I'll need y'all right now to do me a favor and smash up the likes. I know Spirit is not the only viewer we have up in here. I know we got more. Drop something in the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle, ladies and gentlemen, if you would. If you feel like you love me for my time, pay me for my time. And hit that notification bell, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Also, if you're on Rumble, or not on Rumble right now, rather, I'd like you to subscribe to Random Topics on Rumble. Ladies and gentlemen. So, what we're going to be discussing tonight, I got shout out to my family on X. Now, I want to get to the major thing. I was talking about Brother Warren Sapp, the NFL Hall of Famer, who is suing, and I'm making sure this rinky-dink sheriff's office is what I call him. He's suing this office out and rightfully so, for wrongful arrest, false arrest. I haven't pulled up the lawsuit. He filed a $20 million lawsuit against I'm trying to pronounce it correct. This is out in Florida. It's called Okeechobee. Definitely Indian. Definitely Native American. Okeechobee County. So this happened last year. Warren Sapp was... why is this thing there? So Warren Sapp was actually... This happened at a gas station. Sapp, I don't even think, was the person that was intended to be arrested. But he got involved listening to what happened to... listening to what was happening to a driver. And so these deputies, he was asking these deputies some questions. I'm just going to play the video for y'all. Now, I had the article up here. I'm going to actually play the full article. Hold on. I have the X version of it, but it's kind of blocked off. The video is cut off in part, so I'm trying to pull up the full video so y'all can see. Now, that's Brother Sapp. So hold on. Let's go ahead and actually pull. They're used.
How fast was he going?
I don't know.
That would be technical to talk about doubling, right? So we're talking about doubling the speed limit, right?
I don't know. She's writing the ticket.
No, I just heard her say that.
But I was I understand, but like I said, with the amount of traffic, I'm trying to educate you, man. And
it's okay.
The amount of traffic that's
And Shar, we got
It's not double 35.
is what I got him on my
That's
radar.
not double
Go ahead and
35.
take it to court for this.
No, it's not double.
So she gave this guy, this is the driver, she gave him a ticket. 35. He was going 60 and a 35. She said he was going double the speed limit. Sapp steps in, looks at the ticket, and says it's not double. So he's telling the officers essentially they're wrong. And, he should have known, especially by this haircut, that this woman was going to have an ego problem.
But you were saying doubling the speed limit. You didn't double it. I got that, but you said doubling the speed limit, and you didn't double the speed limit.
Okay, well,
There's no reason to exaggerate it when you got the number.
I got it, and I wrote for one I got.
I got you, but you said out your mouth doubling the speed limit.
But I didn't write it for double. Then I wrote it for
No,
one.
but what you're saying is incorrect.
But just for future reference, through this
Seems like to be correct. That's all. Factual. Hold on, I'll stop the what? Oh, there you're
And now another officer comes in and tries to
What do you
tell
mean? Stop
Sapp to
what?
stop.
I'm dead at shit. Dead at shit.
It looks like if you listen carefully, you can't hear you couldn't hear everything, but he said, do you want to, it sounded like you said you want to go to jail today. You have a car that's going off a motor running, so it's a little hard to hear. But I could hear go to jail today. So listen carefully.
I'm dead at shit. Dead at shit. Obstruction's a physical thing. I'm not in between. I'm not.
So this officer saying Sapp can go to jail for obstruction.
Obstruction is a physical thing. You know that, right? You do know that, right? Obstruction is a physical thing. What did I do that physically obstructed? What did I physically do? It's a physical action. Obstruction is a physical action. Not freedom of speech. Not freedom of speech. You know, that's constitutionally protected, right? Yeah, that's right. What's the name of that number? What's the name of that number?
He's asking for his name.
What's the name of that number?
734.
Boom. 734. Detained for what? Detained for what?
All these immediately says you did today. Warren Sapp.
Please report. Where's my being detained for?
Everybody back up. Back up. Back up.
Why you gotta grab me like that? No, you're applying force right now. What the hell's going on? Investigation, I have to do something.
He was recording. He was recording. He was recording.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Everybody right there, no, you didn't. You said you don't want to get to jail. And I said, so what?
So yeah, so they arrested Sapp, and Warren Sapp is filed a $20 million lawsuit. So you said I'm being detained, but you're using force, and they're saying he was obstructing. And he said, "Well, you never told me what I was obstruction. He said it's freedom of speech. I was asking a question." Now, if we go to the Florida statutes, what they talk about obstructing an officer. So obstructing an officer without violence it's a misdemeanor, and it's a criminal offense to resist a law enforcement officer when they're performing their legal duties. Now, what the statute says, and I believe this is what he is talking about. So he said obstruction, or what they call obstructing justice. Now we clearly see from that video, Sapp didn't physically threaten an officer. He was asking questions about the speeding ticket to the other officers that were there. The one officer said, "Do you want to go to jail today?" And saying that he was interfering with this officer's arrest or issuing of a citation. Now, another thing too, an arrest can be given even with a summons. That can be considered an arrest. Now, Sapp just asking questions and was talking, and there are a lot of people that are around the police department in that area. Now, I don't know what happened previous to that or afterwards. We know Sapp went to jail. The charges in that case were dropped, but going back to this, Warren Sapp didn't do anything physically to harm the officers or impede the officers, in my book, from doing their duties. They were obviously free. They were talking. There was no threats that were made. What they call, if you go to, now I have Florida's, this is from 2021, but these are the Florida statutes that are up. So what they talk about here, this is 843. They got resisting an officer with violence or without violence, obstruction by disguised person. They have refusing to assist prison officers in arresting escaped individuals, resisting a timber agent. Now, it can't be resist because They didn't say he was under arrest or that he had stopped. He obviously detained himself. So how do you obstruct an officer? Now, you saw from here the obstructing justice. This is chapter 843. So they're different. They're about 23 different paragraphs and definitions: compounding a felony, failure of a defendant on bail to appear, aiding and escaping, conveying tools into jail. So none of that is here. We didn't see that. He was just talking. Now, Sapp gets arrested. So there's a video clip. He went on an interview, I believe, here on Fox Sports 640 with Andy Slater to discuss the charges. And this is what Sapp had to say about that. So let's pull this up. Fair use, by the way, fair use.
We got some current events we got to talk about, Sapp, Dad. Got some current events. I've seen your dissatisfaction with the police department and kind of taking the task with a lawsuit on their false arrest.
You know what? It's the sheriff's department, and that's the one that's the most disappointing, because the sheriff, if you know, in any county, you got police and whatever, the sheriff is the highest.
Yeah.
And the sheriff is a constitutional officer.
Yep.
Who should be well versed in our constitutional rights, because they swear an oath to protect those rights. And to be violated in less than 30 seconds, and then not to have a supervisor come to me, nothing, speak to the lieutenant, he don't want to come, speak to the sheriff talk wild at me, tell me I got a time, place, and manner for my First Amendment. I thought I had crossed over into North Korea, dog. And I spent a lot of time in Okeechobee fishing and hunting, and just, I got a bunch, shooting doves, doing a bunch of things, because that's like Florida's playground right there in the middle, right there around the big lake. And the big lake give you a lot of great fishing and a lot of good times. And I love being in the woods. You know what I'm saying? Take me in the woods. I'm a country boy.
Yeah.
And let me enjoy myself. And I ain't been back to Okeechobee since, man. Put a real bad taste in my mouth, man. Like,
absolutely.
Like really?
I want to burn it from both ends real quick.
And I want to say this too with the lawsuit. Let me pause that for a minute.
End result, the state attorney threw it out, said they were wrong.
Right. So let me just say this too. Why this has impacted Warren and why he obviously wants to challenge this too. In part, if you remember, he became the Colorado Buffaloes defensive line coach recently this season. So when this arrest took place, it impacted him with employment, because they look at your arrest history and so forth, and any pending charges, it can hold things up. Now, he was eventually able to get on the Buffaloes team, and that was because I believe the charges had been dropped by the Attorney General. The Attorney General of the state of Florida didn't want nothing to do with this. And I'm seeing in here, since we're talking about our rights and constitutional rights being violated, of course, Sapp not only has a First Amendment right to remain silent, he can talk if he wants. And I know he's he's been talking that trash ever since he got drafted by Tampa. He also, as you may not know, when we talk about the Bill of Rights, because that's in part what I want to discuss with everybody, since we're talking about the Constitution and all of these rights and what's being attacked and so forth, you have a First Amendment right to remain silent, a Fifth Amendment right really against self-incrimination. You have a First Amendment right, freedom of speech, but you also have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Anything you say can, as they say, can be used against you in a court of law. That is the right against self-incrimination. You don't have a duty to testify against yourself. You also have a Fourth Amendment right to be safe from unreasonable searches and seizures of your person, places, parties, and effects. So papers and anything that's on your person, the government has no right to grab it. So what we have here, then there's also the 14th Amendment right, which is due process of law, that comes in, especially with our justice system. So someone that's been placed under arrest and or wrongfully convicted or not having their due process rights followed under pursuant to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Their equal protection under the law, which clearly was violated as well. So Sapp has, and I'm just trying to see if there was a copy of the lawsuit filed, but according to the reports, he's filed a $20 million lawsuit for wrongful arrest against the department. And I believe Sapp has a very good case against these police officers. Now, I'm going to finish playing just the rest of the video. So I want to hear what
beginning result, like you didn't do nothing wrong. Like you weren't even.
I was walking him through the law.
Yeah.
And then he says to me, I know the law. So I'm like, okay, what's your name and badge number, sis? You know, you over here barking out unlawful. I'm obstructing and I'm standing here. And last time I checked, when you hand somebody the ticket, it's all, your official duties is over.
That's right.
A warning, a ticket, whatever it is over.
Once a ticket is issued, it's over. That's it.
Buddy was finna put it in his pocket. I wanted to see what the miles per hour was, because she was sitting there talking about, I'm trying to teach you something. As you heard, I'm trying to teach you something. Are you teaching somebody something and you got the miles per hour wrong?
Well, I hope Warren Sapp, and look, I hope he's successful on his lawsuit. I hope he just doesn't settle it. I'd say take it to court, make an example out of that department. You want them, when they get sued for stuff like this, especially these small counties, and I don't know how big this county is. Sapp, he's from Florida. He played for Miami, the Hurricanes, and he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm sure he's very familiar with that city. So Okeechobee. See if I'm pronouncing that right. So this is the city. Yeah, county seat of Okeechobee County. And it has a population. This is a small population. This is a population of 5,602 residents as of 2023. So they definitely can be banked. They don't want a lawsuit like this. You force it to trial, though, they're going to be compelled probably to settle. And settle dearly. Yeah. Sapp didn't deserve that. And many of these officers, guys, they get these ego problems because when you try and educate, when they have citizens who, and let me be clear, ladies and gentlemen, look, just because you watch an episode of Law and Order or the host, or you've watched Chicago PD, whatever, or Suits, doesn't make you an attorney. However, it's important for you all. What I do recommend is every citizen go to their courthouse, wherever you are, and sit in a trial. That way you can learn what voir dire is, learn what rules of evidence are, what comes in and what doesn't. The right against self-incrimination, the Fifth Amendment. When a judge will ask the defendant if he understands by not testifying, that's his duty. If he doesn't want to, that he waives his rights, things of that nature. What are Boykin pleas? Those are things you learn. Those are things that you learn in school. Those are things you learn when you go to the court, when you go to the courthouse. Yeah, please do that. Anyway, I gotta bump that music. So Sapp's got he's got a slam dunk case. I wish I was his lawyer. This would give me a new house, ladies and gentlemen. If I took Warren Sapp's case, I'm immediately going to my real estate agent, picking out the house I want. And Sapp, I think, was in jail. I don't know how long. I think according to the reports, he was in jail, had to make bail for $750. So I don't think he was in jail for more than a day. He was only in jail for 3 hours. But still, that sheriff's department is in trouble for that. And I wouldn't rest with just the settlement. I would want the officers that were involved in that to be fired. That'd be important too. They need to be fired. They gotta go. You do anything like that, you just pull somebody off because you're angry that they're educated. That tells me you got a problem. That tells me you hate your job. You don't like the public. Get out. You do that to somebody just questioning you. Imagine what he does to other people in circumstances. Imagine if this wasn't Warren Sapp. Yeah. I'm doing good, DeAndre. Y'all are just getting my notification, getting into the chat. We're going to wrap this thing up in a minute. I'm going to put the music back on. Good evening. Good evening. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, smash that like, share, subscribe button. Good step, man. I think Steph going to do a lot. Steph is definitely, he might end up just selling out, but he definitely deserves a nice little, let's see, he can buy it. I think. He's earned it. Anyway, fam, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. Y'all stay warm. It's real cold outside. The roads are still icy, so we're gonna see what happens in the next few days. They say it's gonna warm back up later. Yeah, but everybody just home. Nobody's on the road right now. Excuse me. Shout out to my family on X that are watching. Shout out to you all, people on Rumble, Facebook. My girl Taisha Essex. Oh gosh, Taisha, I haven't seen you in ages. I'll see y'all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. Yeah, Charles, Nikki the God, bunch of other people. Yeah, shout out to y'all. All right. You know, I want to just make this one point in closing, and shout out to my buddy Dwan B. He mentioned this on X, and he's echoing the same thing I've been talking about. He quoted cited Dr. Claude Anderson in regards to the DEI programs, and he said, everything Trump is doing, hold on, let me pull it up, because I want everybody to read what he's saying. So yeah, he says, quote, everything that Trump is doing is what Dr. Claude Anderson called out 30 years ago. Dr. Anderson told black people when then his other groups will be, Dr. Claude Anderson told black people back then, these other groups will be imported to America and prioritized over blacks. Then once that's done, it would all be taken from everyone. This was the plan no matter who's in office. Roland Martin, Al Sharpton, and all the other so-called black leaders were put up on game, and they ignored Dr. Anderson. Black media failed us. They're all crooks. Trump and the DI is 10 years behind the timeline Dr. Anderson laid out. Absolutely. Absolutely. You notice something? Why hasn't Dr. Claude Anderson, just curious, with the knowledge that this man has, and this is a former Marine, mind you, he's only been on Boyce Watkins's program. Why Dr. Claude Anderson or Tariq Nasheed stuff? Why wasn't he ever invited? I've never known him to be invited on Al Sharpton's program or Roland Poland's program. I got over 700,000 followers, fool. And Roland was talking big shit with the rest of them coons. He was talking big with the rest of those Democratic coons and shills. Going in on Phil Scott and Tariq Nasheed and others. You know, he didn't mention what damn sure wouldn't go in on Dr. Short, because Dr. Short would tear his ass up. Or Judge Joe Brown. See, Judge Joe has the following. There was a Tennessee school shooting. Nashville school shooter. Yeah, that's made news. I honestly, guys, I hadn't even followed it. I've been watching the news all day on Fox. You know, the main thing has been this winter advisory. I knew nothing about the school shooting until I just saw the notification. 17-year-old student. He fired 10 shots in 17 seconds. I had to do more reading on this. But one student was X'd. It's a shame when you see that. I had to look at this a little bit more. But fam, I'm going to go up and wrap this thing up. Y'all be safe and be blessed. Shout out to my family on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, on Facebook. Good to see y'all again, Facebook. And I will see y'all in the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, be one, be safe, and be blessed. Yeah, Dr. Claude Anderson wanted it, but nobody listened. And we didn't prioritize and build up the block like we should have. We're going to be paying the price. So hopefully we can still salvage what we can. All right, y'all. I'm going to get up on out of here, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.